Sonic Youth seem to be the current darlings of the press at the moment and not being able to put a foot wrong. So I spoke to Thurston and Kim from the band to find out whether they agreed with this or not.
Yeah, it's all very momentary, I think. I mean, the whole music scene, especially in England, is very temporary, I think. It's all very trend conscious, and I'm sure next month you won't be hearing too much about us. And you'll probably be hearing something about some other up and coming or whatever. I mean, we've been kind of up and coming for the last 6 years. So when we see all this press adulation, we just sort of skim it and whatever, and we regard it somewhat seriously because they are writing about us, and we do take it personal. But at the same time, it's all very business oriented, and it has nothing to do with what we're doing creatively as a band. So I mean, it's kind of fun and it's kind of horrible at the same time. At first, I always saved everything. When we first started getting written about, I saved every little tidbit. And I don't know when I stopped. I think I stopped when we got involved with record companies, and the record company started doing it for us. And that was kind of a relief. And you know, I mean, it's encyclopedic now, so.
Yeah, it is.
So what do you think about all this sort of reverence and everything? Do you ever think that it can't really be happening to me at all, or do you ever sort of step out of it and think, oh, this is unreal?
Sometimes. I grew up always idolizing musicians, you know, ever since I was a little kid, reading rock magazines and pinning them on my walls and cutting them out and fantasizing. And a lot of things happen where you're sort of put in the position of meeting people or just being in the position that those people were in. And the realism of it kind of, you know, you succumb to that. And sometimes you'll think, like, back to when you were young, how you thought about it. But, you know, I mean, an incident that was really, that people all knew about was like when Iggy Pop sang with us. And when I was 16 listening to like a Stooges album, if you told me that Iggy Pop was going to sing with us, I would have, you know, just laughed. I mean, it was an impossibility. And so that was like really bizarre. Because that was like sort of watching television in a way. I mean, it was like on stage with this icon in a way, and it was very strange seeing that happen. But it was a feeling of it was a very uplifting feeling. I mean, that was, you know, you could pack your bags and go to heaven after that in a way.
Well, we don't always do consistent live shows. I mean, we're pretty human, and we're affected by a lot of things, you know, from acoustics, you know, in the room to the sound on stage to just each other's moods, and I don't think we really try and be totally consistent and put on a professional show. I mean, to some extent we do. I think, you know, we pride ourselves in trying to be good musicians, but I think it's also hard for us to buy into the idea of being entertainers to some extent.
We have still yet to make like a really happening record. I mean, I listen to our records, it's really not, all the elements aren't there. It's just sort of hinting at a lot of things that could be really great. And I think a lot of the critical, you know, people loving us so much is just because there's a lot of sort of unique things going on. And compared to like the generic state of music right now, it stands out. But I don't think we've really begun to be mature musicians yet. So maybe in 20 years' time, we'll be really
mature.
Yeah.
Rachel with Sonic Youth. If you haven't managed to get yourself a copy of the doubleheader with Mudhoney, Seattle's sub-popsters, where have you been? Sort yourself out as soon as possible. And don't you think Daydream Nation is their best ever LP? Smashing. Featured album of the week comes from Hugo Largo on Land.